Well, welcome back, guys, to the Blazer Victory Podcast. This is your co host, John Duncan. And of course, I'm joined by my co host, Steve Irvine. And Steve, we finally got to see Protective Stadium. And, buddy, it was all the hype, man. What a beautiful facility. You know, just beautiful. Like, it's just, it's a light years beyond what we were used to at Legion Field. I was anticipating it to be nice. It looked nice from the outside, but buddy, when you get in there and just see it, man, just what an awesome experience in that stadium. Just man, I just loved it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I mean, it started beforehand. It started with with the Uptown, and the view of the stadium from there, and then the wonderful Blazer Walk that was better than it's ever been, and
No doubt.
just that experience, and then going into that stadium and just looking around, and it was just it was a special day. We talked about a lot on the radio afterwards. Um, it was just a special day, and yeah, it didn't have the outcome that you wanted in the football game, but just the fact that I mean, just so many things. Joe Webb's pregame thing was awesome, and
Yes.
seeing all the players on the field at halftime was awesome, and just seeing the players walk around, and seeing some before the game, and you know the former players, and just seeing that their the looks on their faces, about how proud they were of being there, and they were the guys that built this thing, and so it was special. Again, you can't change the outcome, and it would have been a lot nicer to come out of there with the win, and but just you can't you can't take away just how special that place is.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we do have a game we have to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, you learn from your wins, you learn from your losses. So you
That's
just, it is what it is.
that's right. But I did want to just start the episode off. I just, just really proud of this program and where we've gotten to at this point, and just seeing that beautiful stadium in person. I had my whole family there, with the kids and my dad, so and my wife, of course. It was just a great experience, but definitely wish the outcome on the field would have been different. But let's go ahead and dive in, Steve. So UAB unfortunately takes a loss to the Liberty Flames, 36-12. Guys, this was a 3-3 game at the half. The defense was doing fairly well, but we just talked right before we started recording, Steve. It's just, for some reason, the offense just couldn't get going in that second half. But give credit to the Liberty defense. I feel like they made some adjustments coming out of halftime, and they looked a lot better. And unfortunately, when your offense is going three and out, three and out, three and out, that defense that is already, pretty banged up, they're going to get tired real quick. And unfortunately, that's kind of exactly what happens. But I don't want to make excuses, Steve. I want to give all the credit in the world to Liberty and Malik Willis. Man, he was all advertised, man, all his advertising. What we
Yeah,
talked about in our preview show. I mean, we saw it all last night.
yeah, and I mean, to me, obviously there was a lot of guys for Liberty that played well and were part of that win, but to me, Liberty had the best player on the football field, and he played like it, and
Yeah.
one thing, and in my pregame thing we did with the Sea of Red, they asked, what does UAB got to do to win, and one of the things I said was, don't let Malik Willis be Superman,
Yeah.
and he was, I mean, it was, and the thing that was frustrating, was I thought UAB's front played well. He impacted the game to get to him, but they
Yeah.
didn't. But they didn't finish. They didn't get him on the ground. I mean, I thought they dominated the offensive line. It's just they couldn't get him to the ground.
Yeah.
And so many times they're in position to make plays. So many times that he made plays, and I'll say this: they were in position to make plays, but he didn't let them make plays. It wasn't like it was. I mean, he was just special.
Yeah.
And it just that's all you can say about that. I mean, he threw the ball well. He ran the ball well. He made good decisions. He made, he got him out, got out of trouble. Um, it was just, I mean, it's what we expected.
Yeah.
I'd hoped that, I was hoping he was going to have a bad night. But obviously he didn't, and give him credit. I mean, I think what's so hard about him is he's so fast. He's so smart, and he's stronger than you can imagine until you play him. I think he's a big, strong guy, and you got to bring it to bring him down, and it's hard to get a clean shot on him.
Right.
And that's a problem. But you have guys. I mean, he ran through Alex Wright early in the
Yeah.
game. I mean, just flat ran through him, and Alex Wright is as strong as anybody on that defense. So
Hmm.
it wasn't like he was just taking on the little guys, and I mean, he was running through everybody. And so hey, give him credit. He's fun to watch. Not fun to root against, but he's fun to watch. And you know, like I said, they had the best player on the field.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't, I really do think Malik Willis is probably one of the best quarterbacks we've seen, at least the last few years at UAB, but also just in general. Like he reminds you a lot of like Cam Newton kind of
Hmm.
type, really, really big, physical, but he can beat you with his arm and with his legs. And I mean, like Steve, you just said, you just got to tip your ball cap and just say, hey,
Yeah.
that's a hell of a player. I saw some NFL scouts in there looking at Malik Willis and, of course, looking at some UAB guys. But, I mean, this guy's going to play in the pros next year. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I do say this. I do think his receivers helped him a lot last
Yeah.
night. I thought he threw some balls that where he put it in places that that they had to go up and make a play, and they did. He trusted them and put the ball like again they went up and made some plays now, and so I think you have to give them a lot of credit too. I mean, as far as the passing game goes, I mean I think they deserve a lot of credit because he trusted them, and there are times when as a quarterback you have to throw balls that they're going to have to go up and get.
Right.
Or make a catch on, make a really nice catch on. I thought Johnny Huntley made a couple nice catches. Obviously, Douglas did. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think you give them a lot of credit too. But obviously it starts with Willis, but I thought the overall, and like I said, I didn't think their offensive line played well at all. I mean,
No.
I really didn't. I just think that the other guys made plays.
Yeah, we'll get into our offensive line in a few minutes, but yeah, definitely. I thought the defense line did just like you said, did a good job getting in the backfield. Just unfortunately could not bring him down. But give credit definitely to Douglas and some of those wide receivers. I mean, what you don't want to make excuses. Where UAB did look tired in the second half. But give credit to those receivers. Especially Douglas getting those yards after catch. Just the speed that you got to see from those wide receivers. I mean, just you've got to tip your ball cap to that whole Liberty Flame team, just for and Hugh Freeze, he had a good game plan coming in,
Oh, and you
and
knew he
just
would. He's a
yeah,
great coach. He's a great offensive coach. You knew he would. You knew he was
right,
gonna, you knew he was gonna call good plays, and he did. And so I mean that wasn't surprising at all. But yeah, you definitely got to tip your cap to him. He's a great coach. I mean, he's a great offensive coach, great play caller. Now it's a little easier to call plays when you got Superman playing quarterback,
right,
but still, he did a great job, and again, tip the cap to him too.
yeah. And you can tell Steve, that Liberty team, they came in mad, like they were mad, they were really
Yeah,
ticked off at what happened last week down at Syracuse, and you could tell they were just motivated to get back on the
yeah.
field.
And it should have been. I mean, that's good for them. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the one thing that
yeah.
that's the one reason I wish Syracuse would have won that game. But
I
I
know,
mean,
right?
Syracuse would have lost that game. But
Or lost,
but
yeah,
yeah, but that's okay. I mean, yeah, they were upset, and I mean, hey, UAB had plenty of reason to be motivated too. So
yeah,
it wasn't just one team having reason to be motivated. So
no
and
doubt.
I don't think the UAB. I think UAB was motivated. I thought they played well early.
Yeah.
I just think they got a little tired there in the second half, and things snowballed on them a little bit. But I don't think it was a lack of motivation.
No. Well, on the defensive side, UAB ended up giving up 544 total yards to Liberty, 331 through the air and 213 on the ground, and 144 of that 213 was Malik Willis, who also had 2 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown. But let's look at the offensive side of the ball, Steve. Man, just a hard night, especially for the receivers. There were a few just right in the hands of our receivers. Shropshire had a couple that he should have had, and I know he wishes he had that one back in the second half that definitely would have flipped the switch. I think UAB was down 17-3, and then UAB takes a shot first play on the offensive side of the ball and just drops it, man. And that could have flipped the switch right there and made it 17-10, and you had some more, momentum for UAB. But it just seems, honestly, after that, it just wasn't meant to be, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, but you got to make those plays,
Yeah.
And you have a guy who has proven ability to do that, and he didn't do it, and that's the difference in winning and losing your play. Not that one play, but I mean your players, having the opportunity and having the chance to make a play, and he didn't, and certainly that's just one play, and it's certainly not the whole game's not on him. But that's a play he needs to make, and he knows that. I mean, and there's plenty of other things to point at too. But yeah, that was a huge moment because the crowd was out of it, and it was just it was quiet and nobody really cared at that point. Not literally didn't care, but I mean, it just
no, you're right.
It was just so quiet in there, and that would energize things,
yes.
and who knows what would happen after that. I mean, who knows? You never know. I mean, who knows what would have happened if that. Great touchdown in the first half would have stood,
we got to talk about that, Steve. What?
Well,
so I still need to go back and rewatch it, and I'm still confused about what happened.
Well, I still hadn't seen it, but because I didn't see any replay, but they called a crackback block on Jermaine Brown, probably 30 yards away from him. He was diving into the end zone when they threw the flag. So there's two things there. One is as an official, don't make yourself part of the game.
Yeah,
that had nothing to do with the play. Now in black and white, and I didn't see it, so I don't know if it's a good call or not. But in black and white rule book, and if he did do it, then that's a penalty. But to me, you need a referee in kind of the gray area. Did it impact the play? It didn't impact the play at all. Okay, so I do say that. But don't put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way in that position. There's no way you need to make that block. There's no way. You just he's scoring. Just quit. If it and again, I haven't seen it, so I don't. It's hard to really judge it without seeing the play, seeing the replay, because it's obviously watching Rajay Johnson Sanders on that and didn't kind of see. I did see him throw the flag, but. And then to call the second one, I guess taunting or whatever it was, that again, I didn't see what he did. But to me, and this is just me, and I'm not an official, and I don't know the correct way to call a game. That's one penalty. I mean, it's just, if you call a crackback, if he reacts to it, then that's still just one penalty. I don't see that as being two penalties personally.
Right.
Again, I didn't see exactly what he did, so I don't know. But I'm just saying in general terms. That's one, in my opinion, that's one penalty.
I agree.
So it's hard to really, fully judge that play.
That was a huge moment in that, because that could have been 10-0 right there, and then we'd be probably talking a different ball game. Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe and maybe not. I mean, maybe it still ends up the same. You just got 7 more points, but that really. I mean, as great as that play was, that energized that place like crazy. Energized that place, because that was. I mean, we'd be watching that highlight for a long time. That was an incredible play.
Yes.
From the throw to the catch and certainly the run and just the effort, and and I think it was a play that Rajay Johnson Sanders needs. He needs a big play like that to really, kind of spark him. Because he's got that ability. And we need to see that every week. And more than once every week, and So it was huge. I mean, it was a huge play in the game. So, you're just talking about just so many missed opportunities like that for whatever reason. Whether again, I don't know. I didn't see it. I mean, it seems without really seeing it, it seems like a knucklehead play. Um, but it's hard to tell until you really see the replay. And hopefully they got a good shot of the replay. I don't know if they did or didn't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Just and just there's just a lot of that kind of things that you just right there, and a lot of. I mean, go back to the defense, same thing. Right there could have made a big play, big sack, whatever.
Right.
So just missed opportunities.
Right. I mean, you said it. You said it best, Steve. It's just missed opportunities on both sides of the ball. If we could just gotten one or two of those, I think I don't know if the outcome would have been different, but it would have been a closer ball game for sure. Let's talk about the run game, and this is something that you asked Coach Clark post game too. That they were able to get that run game going, especially in the first half. Kind of slowed down in the second half, but late they were able to get a couple good runs by Jermaine Brown. But you asked Clark in the post game, you said, asked him, is this something that you guys can build on? And he definitely said, yes, this is something that they can build on. And I look for them to build on, hopefully, against FAU this week as conference play resumes.
Yeah, and kind of his answer to it, and is really kind of why I asked the question is because I felt this way and I felt like he would answer this way is his answer was, "Hey, this is one night. Yeah, we've got a lot of
Mm-hmm.
football left to play,
Mm-hmm.
and sure we can build on that, and we can build on some other stuff, because this doesn't define the season, and this doesn't end the season." That's kind of was his answer, and that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what I was hoping for because that's the way I feel. I feel that it's, I mean, yeah, I mean, when you go through a loss like that on a night like that, it hurts at that point, and part of you is like, well, there goes the season. We didn't win this one, but you can't do that. You can't let
No.
this one affect the next one, and you can't, and you can't look at it and go, oh, poor me. We lost this game, and golly, which it would have been a nice season, but now it's over. No, I mean, it's just part of it. And I thought that they didn't get a chance in the second half to really commit to that running game. And I think
Mm-hmm.
if they would have got that chance, and I'm not saying it was Brian Vincent's fault they didn't commit to it. It was just flow of the game. But I thought if they got a chance to commit to that running game, they would have been able had some success with it because I don't think that they were necessarily stopping the run. I just don't know that they got the chance to really commit to it. And one of these games they're going to have to, or they're going to hopefully get that chance because I think I don't think the offensive line has played as well as they're capable for sure. I mean, they haven't dominated games yet, and I think they have the ability to do that. And they have some running backs that can really, move the football for them. So I think, when they get a chance to commit to it, I think we're going to see that's a really strong part of this team. But unfortunately, in the second half last night, they didn't get that chance. And when they ran the ball, I thought for the most part, they ran it well. Obviously Liberty did a great job in the second half of not letting them do that and did a better job against the run, till late. And, but, I will say this to me, a huge part of that game was, Liberty really, really, really tackled well.
They
I
did.
mean, they didn't miss tackles. The short passing game, they if they caught it, they made sure they were down right there. They didn't. So I thought they tackled better for sure, and I thought that was a huge part of the game. But I do think that UAB when they ran the ball were pretty effective. And so I think that's something that you've got to build on, and you've got at some point you've got to find a way where you can commit to that. And again, I don't think that's play calling. I mean, I
No.
don't think he did a bad job calling plays last night at all. But um, I think that you got to put them in a position where they can commit to that running game.
Definitely. Steve, before we get out, I do think we do need to talk just a little bit more about the offensive line and just, I don't know, man. You just alluded to, Liberty did well at tackling last night, but I just felt like the offensive line didn't do a good job, really at all. I mean, it's not like Liberty was blitzing every play.
Well, they brought guys a lot. No, they did bring numbers a lot. Because I think because they felt like they could. I felt like they can cover in the back with whether it be man or zone, but they felt like they could bring some guys and they did. And I mean I thought a lot of the sacks were came when they brought numbers. But that's something that hey everybody does that, and you
Yeah,
can't you got to be able to handle that. If you don't, it's you're not gonna win games. You're certainly not gonna move the football. But I don't think they've played. I really don't think the offensive line has played well, and I'm talking about played well up to their expectations.
right.
You know, I think they need to be, and they have the ability to be, and they have the players to be a dominant offensive line. And I don't think they've done that yet.
Mm-mm.
Do I think they will? Yeah, because I think they're good players, but they just haven't. They haven't dominated. Given up a lot of sacks, and um, that's and part of that is I mean, on any team, part of that has to go on the receivers and quarterback. They if they bring numbers, you got to find ways to get open quick, and
Yeah,
I don't know that they've necessarily done that. I mean, I don't I mean, we don't break down film, we don't see what happens, like coaches and players do. So I think it's a not just the offensive line. I thought there was a couple times last night that Dylan just held the ball too long.
yeah, he
I mean,
did.
there was times where you got to have that internal clock, and you got to go, okay, I got to get rid of this ball, or I got to get out of here, and a couple times I thought he did, but uh, there was times where there was at least one that I can think of, maybe two, that he just stood back there until he got sacked, and
Yeah,
you can't do that. You got to get rid of it, live to play the next down. And obviously there were times that he didn't have a chance. So, but yeah, I just think the offensive line is too good to not dominate games, and they're not right now. And let's hope they get it fixed. Because they got some. They don't have any easy ones. They got some
no,
good defense. This is going to be a good defense they play this week, and so they've got to figure that out, and they got to they've got to respond as a team to this the way that they should respond to this. They got to be mad, and they got to respond it in the right way. And we'll see. I don't know about the health. I mean, we'll
yeah, we got to see
you know,
about that.
yeah, we'll see about that. I think health overall. Like even on the offensive line, I mean, missing Sidney Wells last night was big. And
Yeah, it
I
was.
don't I don't think I think Jacoby Jones is a fine player. But Sidney Wells is one of he's an all conference player. So,
Hmm.
you don't at this level, you don't you don't lose an all conference player and just go, okay, well we'll just put plug the next guy
No,
in. You're gonna have an effect. And again, I don't think Jacoby Jones is a good player. He's a starter, and probably most teams in this conference he's a starter. But he's not Sidney Wells.
mm-mm.
Sidney Wells is a starter there. So, and obviously the defensive injuries are probably a little, the guys they missed last night at least, are a
Yeah,
little more of an impact than on offense. But you know, it's everywhere. You got and that's football. I mean, that's part of going
that's
through a
right.
season. You got to have it. It's a rough game, and you got to have injuries, and so you gotta overcome them. And we'll see how they do. This is still a good football team.
Oh yeah,
We can't. The world didn't end last night, and the season didn't end last night, and they didn't just forget how to play. They just had a bad night against a great player, and um, there's some adversity going on right now with injuries and different things, and so you just got to find a way to get through it. And I believe in this coaching staff. I certainly believe in Bill Clark, and um, I we're gonna have better days for sure.
Definitely. And I mean, like we said earlier, Steve, before we started recording, that the real season is about to continue. Conference is
Yeah.
conference season. We've already had one game where we beat North Texas, but it's the real part of your season is about to start back. When FAU comes to town next week, hope that we can have another good crowd on hand for the 2:30 game. But gonna need you guys in the stands this Saturday. As Steve just mentioned earlier, this is gonna be a tough FAU team, a really talented FAU team. They've always recruited well down there, even under Kiffin, but now under Taggart. But we're gonna need you guys in the stands again. And also, Steve, one last thing before we go. It helps that the guys have one full game in the stadium. The pressure's kind of off now. There was a lot of pressure, on the team and coaching staff to perform well in the first ever game in Protective Stadium. It's over with. Forget about it. Move on. Conference play starts again. So hopefully, they're doing the good, the bad, the ugly this morning, probably as we speak, or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, actually, it's Monday morning.
Yeah, it's Monday morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just got to move on, man.
Yeah, and they will. I mean, and you're right. There was a lot of pressure on that game. It was, it's your only chance to make a first impression, and
Yeah.
in that stadium, so yeah, there was a lot of pressure there, and there were times I thought they played well, and there was time, I mean, first half, again, there was opportunities that if they would have made plays, it could have been a different night, but it wasn't, and
Right.
so be it. I mean, that's just part of it.
It is
And
what it is.
hey, if you'd have told me before the season that, hey, I'll give you a what would that be? 11-2 season, but you're going to get boat raced by Georgia and lose the Liberty, but you're going to win every other game.
Take it.
I'd say yes, sir. Where'd I sign up for that?
Right.
So hey, still a chance. You still got a good chance to be a special season, and you just gotta kind of ride the ups and downs of of any season, no matter who you are, and just have fun with it.
Definitely. Well, UAB's 1-0 in Conference USA play and looking to go 2-0 as the FAU Owls come to town this week. And we'll be back in just a couple of days, guys, to help get you ready for those FAU Owls. But as always, if you're not subscribed to our podcast, please make sure you're subscribed to us on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, just a podcast platform. Hit that follow or subscribe button. And make sure to follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/BlazerPod. But on that note, guys, we'll see you in just a couple days. But as always, go Blazers.